Hi, my name is Jerome Bell, and I'm excited to talk to you about Gov Fund Rewards. What is Gov Fund Rewards? Well, a little bit about me. My name is Jerome Bell. I'm the founder of Gov Fund Rewards, and the theme of me personally in my profession and in my business is to decentralize all the things, decentralize education, wealth, and power. So I'm connected. I started Mega School, which is, think of it as high school, except it's for adults. So think Tinder, except instead of matchmaking for dating, we're matchmaking for learning. People have been dying to learn something, people have been dying to teach something. We match them up. So it's peer to peer decentralized education. Decentralizing Wealth Project 90, a movement to build a 90% financial literacy rate. So I'm partnered with a company called MWR Financial. They specialize in increasing, creating, multiplying and protecting your money, your cash flow. So they are best in breed for practical financial literacy for adults. Third Party also started that organization that is a new political party that's fully operated and controlled by teenagers. Yes, teenagers, 13 to 18, 19, you're out. And what that does is it's designed to simply be a fail-safe for a dysfunctional political system. So that's kind of the general theme for me. Decentralize all the things, decentralize education, wealth, and power. The Gov Fund Rewards wants us to think about the way we fund government and to reimagine it. Why can't we choose how and when to fund government? We have taxation, right? That's our standard way of getting funds for the government. It's by violent means, it's by force, it's coercive. You can't agree to disagree with how the government collects funds. Wouldn't it be nice if we could donate like with every other non for profit, not for profit organization? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, I'll raise you one. What if we can get paid? What if we can make money while funding the government? Nothing better than that, right? So it sounds like it's impossible, but let's take another look. What if we decentralize wealth and decentralize power in a fully volunteer, peaceful, nonviolent manner? I bet you we can raise our wealth and our power. And how are we going to do that? Through USA. USA is the name of the rewards you get in our rewards program. So every single time you fund the government, you get a reward. That reward is called USA. But we're smart. USA is money for American people by American people, not government, not corporation, the people. Money for us, by us. So don't we already have that? Isn't that what the US dollar is? Well, I'll do some compare and contrast between the US dollar and USA. First of all, how much of it is there? For the US dollar, there's an infinite amount of it. It keeps being created and created and created. And that is one of the things that contributes towards inflation, those higher grocery prices. Is partly because there's an infinite supply of it. More and more is created as we go along. USA, in contrast, has a fixed, immutable supply of 100 trillion, a fixed supply of 100 trillion units. That's it. No more. Who owns it? Who owns the US dollar? The Federal Reserve. Oh, yeah, that's the government agency, right? No. The Federal Reserve is federal in name only, like Federal Express. It's actually a private for profit corporation. Not going to say anything more on that. It is what it is. But in contrast, USA is owned by the people, us, the people, not corporations, LLCs, flesh and blood people. The distribution, who actually has the US dollar? Where is it? It's centralized. It's centralized between amongst the banks. That's the Federal Reserve. That's like the central bank. And then all the commercial banks, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all the commercial banks, that they have a disproportionate amount of it. In contrast, USA is going to be distributed in a decentralized manner. We're going to make sure in a voluntary fashion that it's spread apart through the free market. USD, who controls it? Who actually has control over when the US dollar is created and who gets it. It's the banks. It's both the Federal Reserve, the central bank, as well as the commercial banks, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. They control it. In contrast, the USA is controlled by us, the people, by design. So we want to look at, I like some of these things in USA. How do I get some? How do I get USA? That's the question. The answer is the Gov Fund Rewards. It's a rewards program where you get rewards every single time you fund the government. So what does that look like? First, you're going to go to your local MoneyGram at your CVS, at your Walmart. They're everywhere, MoneyGrams. And you're going to swap hard cash, paper money for digital dollars. They call it USDC. It's simply a digital dollar. You actually can take hard paper cash to MoneyGram, so at your local CVS or Walmart, and you get digital dollars. And then you can actually swap it back, those digital dollars, for paper hard money cash. Okay. So the first step is you take cash to your local MoneyGram and you create digital dollars. And it's stored on your e-wallet. We call it Rival Pay. Rival Pay is like PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. It's another digital wallet. And that's where you're storing your digital dollars. And when you take those digital dollars and you pay your taxes, you pay your taxes right there in the app on the digital dollars, and you get a 2-for-1 reward. That means if you pay $10 in taxes, you get 20 USA, that's double, in return. If you pay $100 in taxes, you'll get 200 USA in return. A 2-for-1 reward. Yes, the math is right. That's a 100% return on investment. We'll explain why in a minute, but it's a 2-for-1. That applies for all tax payments for all governments that participate in the program. They may even offer a tax credit. That's just another convenient way of paying your taxes. But you can also donate to the government if you didn't know. So every time you donate to the government, say, I want to donate $500 to the government, you do through the Gov Fund Rewards program, that you donate 500, you'll get twice that, 1,000 USA back. So you can donate directly to the government once they set up their account, or you could even donate through a 501c3 not-for-profit. They can act as a proxy so that the government hasn't gotten their account set up yet. You have nonprofits that can set their accounts set up faster, and they'll just forward that donation onto the government. So you can donate either direct or indirect. By the way, you're going to get a 2-for-1 reward back to you. So we're really getting paid to promote voluntarism, a voluntary means of funding the government. That means we're not going to have a need for taxation. That means we don't need an IRS. That means we get privacy. With all that data the IRS is gathering up, and they use it in ways that are controversial, we won't have that. Won't be a need for it. In simplicity, we all know the tax code is insanely complicated. That's why we need to hire accountants just to know what we owe. When it's voluntary, we don't need to do all that. Simple. And the biggest thing is respect. The government belongs to us, the people, right? It's a not-for-profit organization, the government. Then the government shouldn't be threatening us with violence if we don't give them what they say they think we owe. We should voluntarily contribute. And believe it or not, that's the way it was in times past in America. They had bonds so that if you wanted to pay for this, that, or the other, you chose to give a bond to fund it. And it made sense. We can get paid to decentralize wealth. And the reason why is, if you look at the net worth of a billionaire versus the net worth of your average American, it's a lot easier to double your money in terms of your net worth. If you have $10,000 net worth, it's easier to get 5,000 and double that, versus if you're a billionaire, you're going to somehow get 500 million, half of that, and try to double it. It's very difficult. So the more money you have, the harder it is to liquidate it, means to turn it into cash so that you can do something with it. Whereas it's easier for people who are less wealthy to take the wealth that they have, turn it into cash, and then to double it through the Gov Fund Rewards program. Right? That sounds really good. You got this 2-for-1 and all that stuff, right? So we just naturally ask the question, what's the catch? What's the catch, right? That's the question. The big catch is if we pay with USA. If we choose to transact on day-to-day transaction, buying goods, buying services, if we choose to pay with USA. And I want to be really clear about this because there's been a lot of double talk and deception going on in the space of finance, right? What's the difference between monopoly money on the left versus real money on the right? Okay. If no one uses USA, no one pays with it, and if no one, for goods, services, whatever, it's all monopoly money. It's all a waste of time. But if we choose to use USA to pay for goods and services, that's as real as money gets. Okay. And there's a tipping point. There's a tipping point in which the American people start to look away from the US dollar towards USA. The tipping point is when people realize I actually have more USA in my digital wallet than I have US dollars in my physical wallet, so to speak. When you have more USA in your possession than USD, but so does your neighbor, so does your friends, so does your family. Pretty much everybody has more USA than USD because it just accumulated through the Gov Fund Rewards program. Then we might say maybe it might start to make sense to start paying for things with USA. See where I'm going with this? So, where this is going to naturally start is probably with paid volunteers. We already have people who volunteer in all kinds of activity, volunteers. We start paying them with USA, paid volunteers. And then as the USA starts to move around in the economy within the volunteer economy, we're going to hit, we could, maybe we will, maybe we won't, but we might hit that tipping point where people start to say, let's start using USA, not just in regards to volunteer work, but all work. And that's when the American people are going to be able to decentralize wealth and close, shrink that wealth gap, that tipping point, which everybody realize it's better for me to pay with USA than USD. Then the question has to be, okay, wow, that sounds fantastic. You're trying to, a rising tides lift all ships, right? So what's in it for you? You got to ask the question. It has to be something. Oh yeah, there is something. 100 billion USA. So remember, there's a fixed supply of 100 trillion. There's an upfront cut of 0.1% for the creator. That's me. All right. Not a secret. 0.1% of 100 trillion is 100 billion. That's an upfront cut, right? So I have incentive to make sure people are making a well-informed decision on whether or not to participate in Gov Fund Rewards and to even pay with USA. So there is something in it for me. So then I have skin in the game. This isn't some scheme to just pump and dump and other things that people have heard of. I have skin in the game. And if we get to wealth decentralization, if you take, that's going to be 303,000 USA per capita. So when we hit the tipping point, as we mentioned before, that will be at the tipping point, that will be the equivalent of $303,000 per capita, meaning the same buying power. Okay. So then really how it got to that number is 100 trillion divided by the population of 330 million. It turns out to be 303,000. So if you look at your household, your typical household family of four, that's 1.2 million USA. That's when we have a pure even distribution of this wealth. So those are the hard numbers. When we have this intuition that isn't there enough money to go around? Yes, these are the numbers, right? And this would be average. This is no inflation. This is essentially taking the buying power of the US dollar today, evenly distributing it, and looking at what it will look like at the tipping point when we just use USA to get the same buying power. There's plenty to go around. And we say, okay, let's say we go along with this, right? We're going to move away from the US dollar to the USA, but what's it backed by? I thought the US dollar was backed by gold, and then I learned that it's not even backed by gold. So what's the USA backed by? It's backed by the wealth, that's the goods and services of the US economy, the American economy. So look at all the goods and services of the American economy, all of them. USA is backed by all of that. So it's the value of the goods and service of the US economy in comparison to the value of the goods and services of everyone else. That's that's the nature of it. It's relative. So strictly speaking, if you want to kind of nerd out on the math, one USA is 1/100 trillionth of all US goods and services. So think of all US goods and services, chop it up into 100 trillion pieces. One USA is one of those pieces. That's kind of the math behind it. The point is that you can't increase, you can't make more of it. It's a slice of the pie. And that's what the USA represents. It represents a piece, a fixed piece of the US economy, the goods and services that we produce like no one else can. What's the future of government funding though? All this goes down, right? There's only 100 trillion, so it's not going to last forever because once it's all distributed, it's distributed. Where's the future of government funding? Are we just going to run into the same problem we have now with the crazy tax code? The answer is there's not going to be any taxes, right? This whole idea that taxes has to be there is propaganda. You do the math, you don't have to do that. In fact, there's already ideas out there right now moving forward. The tax income bounty, where you're crowdsourcing new ways of funding the government through the private sector. So let's say you find a way to save the government $1 million, or you can get $1 million from the private sector to the government. So think about leasing naming rights to a stadium. We already do that. You could lease naming rights to a bridge called the Brooklyn Bridge, the Apple Bridge, the Google Bridge, the Amazon Bridge, right? Larry Sharp out of New York came up with that idea. So those are ways to generate income that's not taxes. But then you get a bounty off of it. You get 1% of the savings. You save the government $1 million, they reward you with 1% of that savings. That's 10 grand just for the idea. Similar idea with the retirement income bounty. This is even things that has nothing to do with the Gov Fund Rewards, but there's other people who are working on this problem. Retirement income bounty says, let's look at government pensions, let's look at Social Security, SSI, the money you get when you're 65 years old. We can find ways to get that same amount of money, say SSI, Social Security, when you're 65, $1,500 a month on average. What if you get $1,500 a month of passive income through the private sector? That's a way to save money as well. And then we just pay them a bonus just for helping somebody to find the same money somewhere through the private sector. So then now it's not an expense for the government. And that's just getting started. We don't know all the way. If we were to tap into the collective genius of the American people to find new and innovative ways to fund the government in a voluntary way instead of a violent way, meaning non-tax, who knows what we can come up with, right? There's no reason to think that we'll never find a way to eliminate taxes simply because it's not necessary. So the Gov Fund Rewards is built upon this plan for the American people to decentralize wealth and to decentralize power. The potential to double your money as soon as we hit that tipping point and to get 100% return on our investment. I'm Jerome Bell. You can reach me on my link tree. This has been wonderful. This has been Gov Fund Rewards 101. I look forward to decentralizing wealth and power with you.